Tumblr. I've decided to do this thing where instead of writing out my status updates, I do videos because we are, after all, a video-oriented society at this point in our history. So instead of writing walls of text that nobody is ever going to read, I will produce instead videos that maybe like 5 people will watch. Progress. So today I am going, do you hear that? That's the train. One thing I really like about living in my area is that I can always hear the train everywhere. Looks like a true fact. Anyway, so right now I am walking in one of my favorite locations, and what I've decided to do is, again, if you have been following me for a little while, on my status updates, I tend to do like 2 or 3 topics and write a little paragraph about them because I can't really talk about just one thing. And I found that if I have a lot on my brain, I want to just get it out there. And I usually can't do that in like a linear format. So I'll do like I'll number things. I do a list. Do my own little listicle. So instead I'm going to do a video. And what I'm going to try to do with this video is take you to different locations. That'll be my gimmick. I'll shoot in different spots. Just to be, interesting. So right now I'm taking a walk in one of my favorite places. And this is my first status update. Status update, June 8th, 2016. 1. Introduction. Hi, my name's Renee. I've been on Tumblr for probably around, I don't know how many, couple years. And I run a blog called Undocumented New York. I occasionally say things that go like Tumblr viral, which is sometimes fun and interesting. I've been retweeted by, people on television, so that's fun. And sometimes I like to rant on the internet. I'm just a ranter on the internet. Not really, but for the purposes of argument, I like to talk about things. I live in New York. I like to hike. I talk about Black Lives Matter and immigration and media representation a lot. I went to college for media representation, film and video production, actually. I haven't actually done much with my qualifications, so I figure maybe I'll just start like a video blog about talking about media representation, probably a lot. Focusing on social justice issues and focusing on immigration, because these are all things that directly affect my life. And we live in an age now where people can share their views and ideas with one another, and I want to share my views and ideas with you. So thank you for listening, and I hope that I can maybe share a perspective that isn't typically heard or very much listened to. But as I usually do with my status updates, I'm shouting into the void. I really don't care if anybody listens. I just have things I need to get out. So that's 1. I was going to shoot number 2 here because look at this lighting. It's incredible. It's magic hour. Look where I am. Beautiful. But I live in upstate New York, and this is the Hudson Valley, and there's like a huge wall of clouds rolling in, and I'm just not going to risk it because it's probably going to be raining in like 10 minutes. But number 2, I recently got into a Facebook fight with one of my oldest and dearest friends. Now, Facebook fights aren't typically like that big of a deal, but they kind of are nowadays. I feel like Facebook has become sort of the way that we as a culture debate one another. And especially if you're like me and you kind of like to be thought-provoking, but not necessarily like provoking. You just want to make people think, or you like to think, so you post a lot of stuff that you've read throughout the course of the day, especially if you're not necessarily working. So you post things on Facebook that you are looking at, because sometimes that's what we do. And you kind of get into debate. So especially with everything that's happening in Black Lives Matter and, race relations in this country that I live in, and the fact that due to the fact that I consider myself a fairly educated and proud Black woman, I like to put things on my Facebook page that are in alignment with my politics. I mean, who doesn't? I also, full disclosure, live in the suburbs. As you can probably tell by the fact that I'm strolling down Timid Deer Lane. I have grown up in the suburbs, lived here for most of my life. We moved here in 1987. I went to a predominantly white school. I was the only grain of pepper in the salt pot for a very long time. So for a very long time, I've had to assimilate, because that's what you do in the suburbs to survive. Assimilate or die. So I assimilated, and I became sort of, people called me an Oreo, which was never fun, because I may talk like this, but I have always been proud of my Blackness. I am from an immigrant family, so I've always approached my Blackness differently, which is probably something I will get into later on, than most American Black people, which is in no way, I'm not going to say that the way that American Black people approach their Blackness is in any way lesser or worse than the way that I approach mine. I'm just saying it's different. Please don't attack me over that. It's probably a topic that I'll talk about later on, because I have internalized a lot of anti-Blackness because of my upbringing. That's something that a lot of people have. And over the last few years, I have spent a lot of time doing a lot of work to confront my anti-Blackness, my internalized anti-Blackness, and to make some lemonade out of those lemons. And I think that I have come a very long way. I still have a ways to go, as we all do. But I am always willing to defend my points with knowledge and research, and not just base arguments on opinions that I have that are just experiential and not based on anything. So recently, I got into a big fight with somebody I've known forever on Facebook. We've been best friends since forever. So for a good 16 years, she and I have been homies. At one point, there was a Facebook fan page dedicated to our friendship, which is now defunct, but we go way back. So, I, again, have been posting a lot of probably what people would think of as controversial. I don't necessarily think them controversial. I think that talking about race and talking about immigration and talking about women's issues and talking about media representation should not be inflammatory. But we all know that when people base their opinions on their feelings and not facts, those topics tend to get a little volatile. So I've been kind of getting into people's faces recently, not because I'm egging people on to fight me, but because I'm posting things, people are taking offense to them, and then I'm defending myself. in these fights, my best friend has usually been on my side. Obviously, she's been a good ally. And, you know, as a black woman in those fights, I'm often alone. So even though I don't necessarily love that we need allies to make points in topics of our own oppression, I do understand the need for it, and I try wherever possible to be a good ally myself, because I know how important it is to have somebody fighting on your side in those experiences. So, we got into a fight. The topic I posted on my Facebook page, again as an ally, not as someone who knows really anything about, like, as much about this topic as maybe I should, or as someone who lives it, but as someone who cares about people with whom this topic resonates. So I decided to post something about it on my Facebook page. And the topic was the movie Before There Was You, or I don't even know the name of the movie. This is how little I care about this movie. I was not going to watch it. I don't necessarily love Emilia Clarke. I don't hate her. Don't get me wrong, she's cute. But I'm not going to pay to see a movie with either Emilia Clarke or whoever that guy is. It struck a nerve with me because as somebody who talks an awful lot about media representation of black women and immigrants and people of color, I would hope that anybody who considers themselves an ally in that struggle would, speak for me. Not necessarily speak for me, but at least bring attention to their circles about something that I consider important. So I posted on my Facebook page that disabled and disability advocates were calling for a boycott of this movie. And I still want to consider her my best friend because we have been through a lot. Got really mad at me for saying that. She kind of went off on a tirade. I'm not even going to get into it because that's not even the point. The point of what I'm talking about isn't necessarily that we had a disagreement. My problem is when people disagree nowadays, it becomes, people feel like they're being personally attacked. Your opinion should not be so unreasonable and so immutable that to defend it, you're willing to just stop listening and destroy a friendship over something that is just a subject. We got into a fight over protests. And as a black woman, I firmly believe in protest. I think that protest has its place, and protest is very helpful. And as a white woman, she has a different experience with protest. So her position was that art should never be protested because art is infallible. My position was that's not at all the case. Art is a human invention. We should have the right to protest anything that is damaging and harmful to us. Because without protest, how are you going to call attention to it? Anyway, it was a really long argument, and I'm not even going to get into it. But my point is that we should never be so stuck in our opinion that we let it end a relationship. I have many people I don't agree with. But I should hope that beyond our disagreements, we can see each other for human beings and not just our opinions, and maybe just for a moment, get over ourselves and step back from the keyboard and realize that if you can't listen, you might be part of the problem that people are talking about. That's just how I feel about it. I hope that you guys saw that. I should have walked backwards. The lighting's better. So 3. June is Immigration Awareness Month as well as Gay Pride Month. So happy Pride. And also, I'm an immigrant. It's probably something that I will talk about again. It is, the title of my blog and everything. So it does affect my life. But it's also something that I'm really proud of. I think it makes me who I am, and I would not trade my immigrant experience for anything because I like the person that I am. And I like to think that I am the person that I am because of my experiences. So I am an immigrant. I am an American. I am British. And I am proud of all of those facts. I hope that we talk again. Thank you for watching. If you want to give me any suggestions that aren't mean, shoot me a message on Tumblr or send me a message on Tumblr or I guess comment on the video on Tumblr because that's where I'm going to post it. You're the only ones that matter. I love you, Tumblr. See you later. Bye.